Hello, hi.
Hi, sir.
Tushar, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. As you know, my name is Tushar Dangayach. Like 6 months back, I started learning about Salesforce, and then I explored about it, as well as then I get started with the admin part. So in the admin, I learned about the data modeling, UI customization from online courses, UI customization, data security, and reports and dashboard. These all things, as well as flows. Later, I got an internship in Salesforce. There, in that, my major task or the task which were given to me was on flows. So yeah, that is something which I had done in my 6 months of duration.
Okay, that's great, Tushar. So, since you have already worked on flows, let's have some question with flows only. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Okay, great. So, can you just provide me a brief is in description what flows is?
Okay, so sir, like flows are no code solution provided by Salesforce. Earlier, when flows were not there, like we for everything, like for creating UI, for any UI functionality, for every single thing, we need to write the code. But now we can do apply logics, we can do lots of things like for loop, DML, lots of logical part can be done using drag and drop tool, I can say, which is flows.
Okay, so once you say that earlier we didn't had any option and we need to write the code, what do you think? What do you have your opinion about other automation tools, which are
Like
point and click only?
Okay, so about other automation tools, like there is in data modeling, which I remember, like there was validation rule. Automation, if I specifically talk about automation tools, which are like process builder and workflow rule.
Yeah, so what do you think? So that's the question, right? So do you think we don't have an option before flows that we can create a validation, we can create a validation for data modeling, let's say, or we can create a process builder, we can use process builder for automating tasks, let's say sending an email, all those things. Can't we use, do we need to write code for them still?
Yeah, actually, like process builder and workflow rule are there, but they are with the limitation. Like if I'll talk about for loops, it's not possible through process builder applying a for loop and all, and workflow rule, and that's why Salesforce came up with a new solution, which is Flow, which is having more better UI, more drag and like more flexible, and it comes up with lots of other things like querying data, which is also one more thing which is not possible through process builder. Or decision were there in process builder, in workflow rule criterias were there, but yeah, for loops, query, these are the things which were not possible through even process builder or even the workflow tool. So that's why Salesforce even wants to expire both of those tools, and they have officially declared that they'll be expiring it in 2025, and they'll not give any update on them. There will be only one, and the only one automation tool like Flow, and other than that there is a approval process kind of thing which is also there in process automation.
Great. So we have some limitation. Got it. So can you tell me, since you have already created flows and you have an experience of how to create flows, what limitations do we have in flows?
Okay, so in flows there are some limitation. Like I need to like if I'll compare it with coding part. So like in record triggered flow, if I'll say, in record triggered flow we have events like update, create, delete, but there is no undelete event. Other than that, in flows there is no way of using map collection directly without using Apex. So like these are there in Apex part, map and all, but that is not there in flows. Other than these limitations, these are all about record triggered flows and all. But if I'll talk about other like screen flow limitation, so if we'll compare screen flow with lightning wrap component, so there are lots of flexibility we have it like when it comes to lightning wrap component. Of course, Salesforce is coming up with new updates in flows to make Salesforce as a completely no code solution, but it is like Still for now we can only create simpler solutions on flows, not that much complex solutions. For complex solutions we have to go on like Apex part, the coding part, Apex and LWC.
Okay, great. So, do we have governor limits with the flows as well?
Yes, it is same as in the development part, like the same governor limits which are there in the development part are same exist on flows as well.
So can you specify some that, let's say, okay, I get it. We have 50,000 limit for fetching the records. We have we can only do some DMLs. All those limits we have. Anything else we have with flows?
Yeah, there is one more limit of using number of elements in flows. That is, I guess, 2000.
Okay, what does that mean? Can we have
Like if I am creating a flow and then I am using start element, for loop, multiple different types of elements, then there is a limit of using those elements within a single flow, that is 2000.
Okay, let's say if we have two records and one of them executes 1500 limit of elements. Okay, so if you say 2000, 1500 is gone with one record. The second has 2000 limit, or it will have only it will again have 2000.
Which flow we are using in this
Let's
case?
say record triggered flow.
So yeah,
And we are getting two records. We are basically putting two records. When we put two records, the flow get executed, and when the two records are getting there, and what happens? So for a single record, 1500 element will get executed. The second one also 1500 will get executed.
yeah, so both the interviews will be executing in the same transaction, so I guess it's going to be like 15 it's going to exceed the limit of 2000 elements to be used in flows.
But does not the flows execute on a single record?
Yeah, it executes, record triggered flow executes for a single record, but what I have observed, it executes for multiple records within a single transaction. It does not create two separate transactions for the records. That is something which I have observed.
Okay, so what do you think? How do we optimize a flow?
In order to optimize a flow, it's all we should be using some best practices. Like if we are using a get record element, then we need to instead of fetching all the records from the database, we should be, if we have conditions based on some criteria we want the records to be fetched, so at the query level, at the get record level itself, we should be applying the conditions, criterias, and then the filtered record should come. Other than that, we should avoid using for loop kind of logic. If we can work with simple while loop or simple if conditions, then it's very well. And other than that, what we can use is no trigger auto launch flow. That is something which we can use as a subflow of normal flows. So from a normal flow we can call auto launch flow no trigger auto launch flow. And so to reuse different common functionalities within the flow, we can create some common auto launch flow. That is also the way we can do it. Yeah, and other than that, it's yeah, so these are the things I can think of right now.
Okay, so tell me, are you aware about elements in flows?
Elements in flows, yes.
Okay, so can you tell me what is the use of element that is transform?
Okay, not sure about it, but yeah, I had used it, but it's like I have used only once, so I am not able to recall it, but maybe it works on collection variable and it do something for on the collection variable. Maybe it sorts them on ascending order, but I am not very sure about it, like I don't remember.
Okay, so have you ever used any other element such as get records?
Yeah, I did used multiple times like get
Okay,
record.
so can we query records with the get records on two objects?
We can only like there is only like whenever we create a get record element, it first at the very first moment itself it asks the on which object you want to query, and then second step is it's asked for like what are the criteria it should fulfill. Then the third step is what all fields you want to query. So it's not going to give any option to select two objects. there, so that's not possible.
What if the objects are linked?
Even then, if even though they are linked, that is not possible.
Okay, so let's consider a scenario. We are querying contacts with the get records, and when we display, let's say we have a screen. So first we get the record, then we have a screen. In the screen, we are displaying the contact information, which we have queried up, right?
Okay.
And once we are showing on the screen, we have contact name, contact number, contact email, all those information basic. And then we have account name, account from the account object, we have website. Can we have that? Once we have used a query on the contact.
Yeah, we can do it okay, it's not possible. Through that get record, it's not possible to go at the higher level. That is, for that we have to write a custom query in Apex,
Are you sure?
because dot notation is something which I am not I'm not able to recall this thing. But yeah, I think right now that it's not possible to access the parent fields from a query. Only single level fields could be queried. If I am writing a query on contact, I cannot access account fields.
Okay, so do check it.
Definitely, I'll check this particular
Okay.
thing.
So if you say we cannot query, then let's move to the next part. And can you tell me about how to handle recursion in flows?
Okay, is there any specific scenario, or in general I have to specify?
No, just imagine that we are updating a record, and that once records get updated, it's again executes the update, which is record triggered flow update, record triggered flow, and then it goes on, and we want to handle it. How do
Can you
do
please repeat, sir, what you said?
that? So considering there is a record which is getting updated, and once the records get updated, there is a record triggered flow already, which gets executed. Again, in that record triggered flow, we are updating the same record, so it's again and again getting executed. The flow is getting again and again called.
Okay,
So, how can we handle it?
okay, so in order to handle this kind of recursion, first of all, I have one solution to stop this recursion. What we can do is, if we want to make the changes in the same record, and we are using record triggered flow, then we should go for like the fast field update section. And there inside that, if we are making the change in the same triggering record as well, it's not gonna trigger another record triggered flow for the same object. So that is the solution. That is the optimized way. It's not better to update the same record in the
values which are coming right onto the value which we need to put is coming from an API which we are hitting. Okay. So once an API has been hit, the value which just came, we want to put that value onto the particular record, and once we update that record now, it again executes the same flow. So that's how it goes.
Another point over here, like I think it's not possible to update the fields of the same triggering record in after part, because I have observed that it's read only in case of after. But yeah, if it is happening, because I also have I'm also able to recall that somehow once I had also tried it and it worked. Again, after I am able to update the same triggering record.
Okay, there are two things. The first one is update the triggering record when you directly use that update okay, on the triggering record. The second one is we fetch the record, since we have the record ID, right? We are using that record ID and we are fetching the record again, and then we are updating it.
Okay.
So at that time we don't have any read only.
Okay. So in after, then we are calling an API, right? And getting the response, and accordingly we are updating the same record. And okay. So in that case, what we can do is we have to take the help from flows in that case, or we can use a custom settings in that case, we can create a boolean variable in the custom settings object, and then that variable we can update as true, and we can make it as false. According to that if conditions, we can handle that. Or other than that, we can create a field on the record. That is I think it's not a good practice, but if the client allows, then I can go for that solution as well, that I can create a checkbox field, and I can check the checkbox when I am updating it. So when it enters again in the flow, it will check that checkbox is true. If it is true, then I am not going to call again the API and all, or making the update. So it's not going to happen. Recursion will not happen. Okay. The third solution which I can think of is Apex, I can create a static variable in Apex, and I can access a variable, that particular class variable, not a static, or I can access, I think, from flows the Apex variable, and I can change its
You
value.
mentioned we can access it. Can you tell me how, if we want to execute a method from Apex, if we want to execute a method of Apex from flows, how do we do that?
We can access the variables, like why I said it,
Not the
because
variables. Let's say we have a method now.
method, calling a method is something which I never did it, and I don't think it is possible.
What if we want to call an auto launch flow from Apex?
If we want to call an auto launch flow, then we have to take help from Visual Force page, or Visual Force page or Aura. From there we can call up.
No, nothing else. If we can, do you think we can call in directly without using anything else? Just we have an auto launch flow, we have an Apex class. Can we call the auto launch flow from the Apex class?
Not sure if any predefined method for doing that, but I haven't did it.
Okay, no problem. Since we have governor limits in Apex, and the same we have in flows, for Apex we can use something which is asynchronous Apex. Do we have anything which is asynchronous flows, something like that, to overcome the limits?
Like when it comes to record triggered flows, there is something called as asynchronous path which they provides, and that asynchronous path is not related to batch and all those things. But yeah, what happens there in, like it is called asynchronous because we can apply frequency. We can set like when we want it to be called. Like
you are telling about scheduled path, right?
Yeah, scheduled path
That's
in
a
record
different
triggered flow. Come again.
That's something different. I am talking about, can we do something which is asynchronous?
Other than that, yeah, I can like, I don't know if there is any asynchronous part in the core flows, but yeah, the newly added orchestration flow, that is something I can say as asynchronous, but where like if I'll see the documentation and all, it doesn't say that this is asynchronous. One more thing to specify on this, that when it comes to what I was saying, like when it comes to, like, I forgot what I was saying.
No problem. Okay. Can you tell me how to, so if we have any errors in Apex, right, we can monitor them, we can have monitoring and logging system. What about if we have any errors in flows? How do you monitor and see the errors?
There are multiple ways. The standard way which Salesforce provides is we can see the interviews, the failed ones, the succeeded one. That is one option. From the quick find box we can find all the flow interviews, and other than that we can always do error handling in flows, and in that, like in that error handling, we can store the errors in any custom object if we want, or if we want to store the error in like if we want to send that error through mail, we can do that as well.
Okay, since you mentioned in the last answer that you have, not this last, the previous one, you mentioned that we have orchestration flow, right? So
Yes.
do we have, okay, so can you tell me what all elements do we have in the orchestration flow? Record triggered orchestration flow, to be specific.
Okay, so like in orchestration flow, there are like few things. I haven't tried it much, but yeah, I can think of some staging thing. Like stages are there, multiple stages, and at every level there are some actions we can perform. Either we can show a screen, or we can perform some actions. Not very sure about.
Okay, let's say we want to get records and show onto the screen in orchestration flow. Can we do that?
Yeah, like orchestration, like if I'll tell you the purpose of orchestration flow, it is used for workflow management, like work management. Like if, let's say I was the person who is assigned with some task, so I on my org, on a particular record, let's say opportunity record, I need to do some task on opportunity record. So that will be displayed, that task will automatically appear, and once I'll perform that task and make it done, then it's going to go like it's going to get marked as done, and then it will move to the next person who will be performing the next particular task for that same opportunity record.
Okay,
So
I'll rephrase the question and make it better. That is, Do we have get records in record trigger orchestration flow?
We have not sure. Again,
Okay.
I haven't used much.
Do we have update records, any DML sort of thing?
We have these things like I do remember like we have multiple things there in like an orchestration flow do consist of two things, screen flow and record flow. But yeah, like and these flows do consist of multiple elements, whatever the elements you want, get record, whatever the things required are all present in these screen flows or record triggered or the auto launch flow. So yeah, in orchestration flow we can use these flows. So indirectly we can use any get record, whatever the element we want.
Yeah, we can use different flows, but do we have these elements in the orchestration flow?
Not very sure.
Okay, no problem. Can you tell me the difference between a record triggered flow and record triggered orchestration flow?
Record triggered flow and record orchestration
Record
flow.
triggered orchestration flow.
Record triggered orchestration flow means like the orchestration, the work management starts from creation of the record or updation of the record or deletion on a particular change in a record, then the orchestration will initiate.
What about the record triggered flow?
Record triggered flow is the flow which executes in the background immediately, but orchestration is the flow which executes and it doesn't end till the time the user like it also involves user interaction basically. So that is the difference which orchestration flow creates.
Okay, great, Tushar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.